Hard work is a lie, told by people who don't understand how your brain actually functions. You don't need more discipline. You need a frictionless dopamine bridge that mimics the flow of a video game. Today, I'm showing you how to bypass burnout and make high-stakes studying feel completely effortless. Here's what nobody tells you. Your brain doesn't care about your goals. It doesn't care about your GPA, your promotion, or your 5-year plan. Your brain cares about one thing and one thing only: dopamine, the neurochemical that signals this is worth your energy. And right now, your phone, your social media feed, your favorite show, they've all been engineered by billion-dollar companies with neuroscience teams specifically designed to flood your brain with that signal, constantly, effortlessly, addictively. And then you sit down to study, and you expect your brain to suddenly choose the harder, slower, less stimulating option? That's not a willpower problem. That's a system problem. And today, I'm going to give you the system that fixes it. Not motivational advice, not a morning routine, not wake up at 5 a.m. and take cold showers. I'm going to show you a specific, neurologically grounded framework, a method for making high-stakes, complex studying feel as addictive as scrolling your feed. And before this video is over, I guarantee you'll look at your entire approach to skill building completely differently. Let's start with something that sounds almost too simple, but the application is where everything changes. Your brain releases dopamine not when you finish something, not when you achieve the goal. It releases dopamine in anticipation of a reward and in response to progress signals. This is the fundamental insight behind every video game ever designed. Every level up, every notification ping, every streak counter. Game designers don't make games fun by making them easy. They make games addictive by making progress visible, frequent, and immediately felt. Now ask yourself, when was the last time your study session gave you that feeling? If your answer is never, you're not alone. And that's the problem. Because right now, you're probably studying with vague, enormous, distant goals hanging over your head. I need to pass this exam. I need to learn this skill. And your brain looks at that shapeless, months-away goal and does what it always does with things that don't produce an immediate reward signal. It procrastinates. It resists. It finds literally anything else to do. So here's the first major shift. Stop studying toward massive goals. Start engineering hyper-specific, quantifiable milestones that produce an immediate dopamine hit the second you hit them. Not study for the bar exam. Instead, complete exactly 23 practice questions on constitutional law before 4 p.m. today. Not learn Python. Instead, write a working function that sorts a list of names alphabetically before dinner. Do you feel the difference? One is an endless horizon. The other is a finish line you can actually see, reach, and cross. But here's where it gets deeper. Because knowing this isn't enough. You have to build the visual feedback system that makes the reward feel real. Every serious game you've ever played had a progress bar, a score counter, something that showed you in real time exactly how far you'd come and exactly how far you had to go. And the second that bar moved, even just a little, your brain registered forward motion, progress, reward. You need that same system for your studying. A physical or digital tracker you update in real time. Every milestone crossed, every page finished, every problem solved. The physical act of checking a box, watching a number go up, these are not trivial. These are neurological triggers. Now I want to ask you something. Think about the last time you were truly in the zone. Not grinding, not forcing, but genuinely absorbed, focused, and almost effortlessly productive. When was that? And more importantly, what were you working on? Because I'll bet you something right now. Whatever you were doing, the difficulty was perfectly matched to your ability. Not too easy, not too hard, just at the edge of your capacity, where every small success felt earned and every small challenge felt conquerable. Psychologists call this state flow, and it doesn't happen by accident. It happens by design. But before we get there, I need to address something almost nobody talks about: the role of strategic boredom. Most people fill every gap with stimulation, podcasts, music, scrolling, because they're terrified of having nothing to do. But here's the truth: boredom is not your enemy. It is one of the most powerful neurological tools you have. When you allow yourself to be genuinely bored before a study session, no phone, no input, just silence, your dopamine baseline drops. And when your baseline drops, the relative reward of engaging with even moderately stimulating material skyrockets. In other words, the less stimulation you allow before you study, the more your brain will reward you for studying. It's the same reason food tastes infinitely better when you're truly hungry. It's not the food that changed, it's your baseline that shifted. So here's the protocol. Before every major study session, implement a 10 to 15 minute sensory fast. No phone, no music, no conversation. Just you and your thoughts. Let the boredom build. Let the discomfort rise. And then open your material. What happens next will feel almost shocking the first time you try it. And once you're in that session, here's how you keep the momentum alive. You manage cognitive load with surgical precision. This is where most people completely destroy their own flow state without realizing it. They try to tackle the hardest, most complex material first, because they've heard "eat the frog," and they think difficulty equals discipline. But your brain doesn't work that way. If the challenge is too far above your current skill level, you don't rise to meet it. You shut down, anxiety floods in, and dopamine disappears. The framework you need is this: always begin at the level where you feel 80 to 90% confident, and gradually escalate toward the edge of your competence. Start with material you almost already know. Let early wins build confidence and dopamine momentum. Then ride that neurochemical wave into harder territory. This is not the easy path. This is the smart path, and there's a profound difference. Now I want to talk about something that sounds almost too scientific, but when you understand it, everything clicks. There's a concept in neuroscience called neural entrainment. Your brain has a tendency to synchronize its electrical activity to external rhythmic stimuli. In plain language, what you listen to literally shapes how your brainwaves behave. Specific audio frequencies, binaural beats, certain ambient sounds have been shown in peer-reviewed research to shorten the time it takes your brain to enter a deeply focused state. The time it takes most people to fully settle into deep work is anywhere from 10 to 25 minutes. With the right audio environment, that transition can be cut to 3 to 5 minutes. Over the course of a week, a month, a semester, that difference compounds into hundreds of hours of additional high-quality output. But here's the piece that separates people who have occasional productive sessions from people who build an unstoppable long-term system: sensory anchoring. Your brain is an association machine. It doesn't just respond to what's happening now, it responds to what has happened before in similar conditions. This is why the smell of a specific perfume can transport you back to a childhood memory. It's why hearing a certain song can flood you with emotion before the first verse even finishes. You can use this deliberately. Create a specific sensory environment you use only for deep work. A specific scent, a specific temperature, a specific posture, a specific location. And every single time you sit down to do serious, focused work, recreate that environment exactly. At first, nothing happens. But within a few weeks, your brain begins automatically shifting toward a focused, rewarded state the moment you step into that environment. You've built a neurological trigger, a subconscious on switch. And once it's built, it doesn't require willpower, it just works. Now I need to tell you something that might be the most underrated insight in this entire video. And it has nothing to do with how you start a session. It has everything to do with how you end one. Most people end their study sessions when they hit a wall, when they can't absorb another word. And they think that's discipline. Push until you can't, then stop. But neurologically, this is one of the worst things you can do. Because how a session ends is how your brain encodes that session emotionally. If you always end exhausted and relieved it's over, your brain files studying under painful experience. And the next time you try to sit down, it fights you harder because it remembers. The fix is defining your exit criteria before the session begins. Decide in advance, I will stop at this specific milestone while I still feel capable of doing more. Not when I'm exhausted, while I still have gas in the tank. Your brain ends the session on a win. It encodes the experience as rewarding. And next time, you're not fighting resistance, you're riding momentum. Now let's talk about the long game. Because everything I've described is designed to build something that goes far beyond any single exam. It's designed to build an identity. When you begin to see yourself as someone who studies with effortless focus, the behaviors that support that identity become automatic. You don't convince yourself to do them, you just do them because they're consistent with who you believe yourself to be. Every successful session, every milestone crossed, every exit on a win, it deepens that identity, makes it more real, more permanent. But I need to be honest with you, because I think you deserve the full picture. This system works extraordinarily well, but it demands something that most productivity advice conveniently forgets: recovery. Real, programmed, intentional neurochemical recovery. Your dopamine system is not infinite. Run it at high intensity without recovery, and you will burn out. Not tired burnout, neurochemical burnout, where the system that produces motivation and focus literally becomes depleted. And when that happens, nothing feels rewarding. Nothing feels interesting. The things that used to light you up feel completely flat. This is why elite performers in every field, athletes, surgeons, competitive programmers, all have one thing in common that nobody talks about. They take recovery as seriously as performance. They schedule it. They protect it. They don't treat rest as weakness. They treat it as a biological requirement for sustained excellence. So here's where we land. You came into this video carrying a belief you probably didn't even know you had. That the reason you struggle to study is because you're somehow weaker than the people who don't. That you lack discipline. That if you just tried harder, you'd finally get it together. I need you to release that belief. Because it's not only wrong, it's actively making things worse. Every time you frame your struggle as a character flaw, you add shame to an already difficult process. And shame is the single most powerful destroyer of dopamine-driven motivation that exists. It's not discipline you've been missing. It's a system. A neurologically intelligent, deliberately designed, properly maintained system that works with your brain instead of against it. The people who look back 5 years from now and wonder how they got so far, so fast, they're not the ones who grinded the hardest. They're the ones who engineered the smartest systems. Who understood that effortless isn't the opposite of excellence. Effortless, when properly designed, is the highest form of it. You now know how to build that. The only question left is whether you're going to use it.